Okay, I'm going to try and do this law of causation with respect to the origin of the universe one more time, because we seem to have a disconnect here. The notion here is anything that has a beginning has a cause. And since the universe had a beginning, it must have had a cause. If all space, all time, all matter, all energy, all fundamental constants, all natural laws, all of a sudden came into existence from nowhere, a singularity, right? An infinitely dense vacuum fluctuation, then the law of causation would say something must have brought about that beginning. Now here's where we get hung up. Then the question is asked, okay, you're going to point to a beginner, a God, then who created God? If the law of causation applies to the universe, of course it must have applied to God. And if there was a God that created God, then who created the God before that God? And it goes on forever. Therefore, the law of causation doesn't work with the origin of the universe. Therefore, go away, you fundamental Christian throwback fuddy-duddy. The problem with this argument is that when we argue a creator God, by definition, we are saying that this creator God had no beginning. That's where everybody laughs and says, you can't do that. You can't make that up. Everything you just argued in the law of causation had a beginning. No, I didn't say that. Everything that had a beginning has a cause. And the argument is that the initial cause didn't have a beginning. And you cry foul? No, there is no foul. Because when we're talking about space and time and matter and energy and the dimensions in which they came about at the beginning, by definition, the one who caused those dimensions are outside those dimensions, namely space, matter, time, etc. So this is a spiritual being, a non-material, non-time oriented being. This is a being outside of space and time that was created. Therefore, I can argue that God was eternal, that God is infinite, that God is not subject to the same laws and dimensions that he created. Now, I'm not arguing here who this God is. I'm just saying that those who come back and say that this law has to apply to God, no, I'm not talking about a guy with a big beard who's a material being who sits in the clouds somewhere. I'm talking about an infinite, an eternal, an immaterial God that brought about all of these dimensions, all of this matter, all of this space, all of the time that we're saying is subject to the law of causation. So here is now my argument. Whether you believe that it was a singularity with a capital S that was infinitely dense, that contained all of this stuff, or whether you believe this causer was God with a capital G, I'm not arguing who this God is or what this singularity was. I'm just saying that if something had a beginning, it has a cause. We now all agree that the universe had a beginning, therefore the universe had a cause. Whatever caused the universe to come into being was outside of space and time, is eternal, is immaterial, is infinite by definition, and therefore not subject to the law of causation, which applies to the universe.